Yeah, bear jab or bear into grab is not true for Inkling. It's 0. It starts being true around 30. Before that, I can backer jab. But if an Inkling tries to backer grab you below 30-ish, then it's not true. And you can like spot dodge it or up E as well.
At what point does it not become a true combo? I felt like
Kinda high, like maybe like 60 or something, but it also depends on how spaced the backer is.
Okay.
And probably also if I get the weak or strong hit. But I think 60, 70-ish. But if I'm unsure if my grab will connect, I do dash attack, which works slightly longer. Also against Inkling, like Inkling's up throw combos is so much better for me if I can land on the platform. So whenever possible, you would rather DI to the side so I can't land on the platform after my up air. Then instead of giving like 50, 60 damage, I only give like 25 or something like that.
How can you tell which way you go from the bomb?
A lot of times you actually can't really. I feel like in the air, if I hit on the lower part of your body, then it seems to have a higher tendency of flying backwards or like back towards me. But then of course, like if the bomb explodes behind you, then it makes sense like what direction you fly.
Yeah.
But if it hits you like directly on, then it's very hard to tell. But it seems to be lower part of the body, then sometimes you fly in. But I'm not 100% certain. I actually think it got slightly changed in the patch too. I'm not sure how, but like before I knew how fast people could mash out of Roller, I did test around with Roller into Ink Bomb, make them fly towards me so I could like spike them off stage. And it was one setup that if you canceled Roller right away, and then you could like charge the bomb fully against characters of a certain height, and they always flew to you. It was like a setup consistently. But then after the patch, you can't do that against these characters any longer. So something must have changed. Because it's like, you know, if you buffer like the standing after Roller, like cancel it on the ground.
Yeah.
And it worked every time. And now against these characters, it doesn't. So, yeah. What happened to Inkling being the best? People change their opinion all the time. I still don't think it's impossible that Inkling is the best. It's hard to say like this early because it's still early into the game's lifespan. But Inkling's somewhere in top 10. But most people rank Inkling in like 5 to 8 right now. I'll probably put Inkling somewhere around like 4 to 6 personally right now. But I could see going higher, and I could see going slightly lower as well. Game plan with Inkling. Obviously, it depends on matchup, but I feel like Inkling, more so than most characters, is pretty good at whiff punishing. Like, someone throws out a move, and you sneak in right after to punish them. Because Inkling is very good at the ground, going under like quite a lot of moves as well. Like, let's take Richter's F-tilt, for example. Inkling can like dash under it. That's just one example out of many. And then quite a lot of like, spacing with like backers and stuff as well. Quick move, leads into shit.
Oh.
Advice to prevent stagnant growth in Smash. If you feel like that happens to you, it's like for most people, I would say this is not as much of an issue in Ultimate like as it is in Melee, but it still probably applies to every competitive game more or less. Is that once you get into a game, let's say Ultimate now for example, the game is new, right? Just finding a character that suits you will help you improve. Just playing against people will help you improve. Even more so in Melee, just because like adding like tech skill will help you so much in terms of improving. Like if you can't L cancel in Melee and you add L cancel, that will help you a lot, right? So a lot of improvement comes from kind of like, how do you call it, brain dead stuff. Like you just like do it over and over. You don't really like question yourself what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and so on. So a lot of people, they feel like that they're becoming better players by not putting like conscious effort into improving, if that makes sense. So if you don't do that at all, if you just like only play, you never go over VODs, you never like try to think more critically about it, then you are gonna stop improving, very likely. That's how I look at it. Mutaking can't fucking complain. He has no... I actually got like legit like a little bit mad when he complained about, oh, like playing online. He's like, you live in the same fucking house as Salem and MKLeo. You have like Wizzy, Plup, Zero, and probably a bunch of other players like close to you. Like he has world-class players living literally like fucking 5... Like his room is probably like 5 steps away from, you know, Leo's room or Salem's room. So it's like, don't you dare fucking complain, dude. Don't you dare. But then he still does. So I was like, shut up. By car, Leffen lives like 5 or 6 hours from me. And like certain things like two-framing, for example, like how are you ever gonna land that online without having like dumb luck? Like, I can very clearly see arguments for Young Link being better than Link. I don't think anyone would say like 100% certain Link is better. But recovery-wise, Link is like for sure better. His up B protects him much better. Like many moves, you can simply straight up beat Young Link's up B easily. With Link, those moves are much fewer. There's probably not many moves at all that can do that to Link's up B, but Young Link's up B, I feel like it's like, yeah, really common. And then you also have like the bombs with Link to help out with his recovery as well. That helps so much as well. Yeah, no, Young Link's recovery is like objectively worse. But yeah, for the most part, I don't like the mindset of like, this character is for sure better. Like, look at how many characters people like called by far the best in the game. Before the game came out, people were like, oh, Meta Knight needs to be nerfed. I never seen Meta Knights like towards the top. People were like, oh, Pikachu, by far the best in the game. Besides ESAM, we don't really see any Pikachus. And even then, ESAM isn't like winning the biggest tournaments. And that's not trying to throw shade at him. He's obviously a really, really good player. But I think everyone would agree about now that, yeah, Pikachu is not a broken character. Then you have more characters that also have been called broken. By far the best in the game. Leffen was hard calling out Smash 4 pros for not working very hard. Leffen has very, very high standards, which should be remembered. But my impression was also that the melee players at Summit played more on average. Could be that we have more to catch up on, but yeah, I can understand what Leffen meant. But as I said, he does have very, very high standards, and one of the things was that he heard, and myself as well, that many of the pro players were like, you know, like they wanted Summit, like, oh, this is so like, you know, crazy, like playing so much, and while already playing less. So, of course, for a player like Leffen, it's going to be like, wait, what do you guys complain about? Well, it is true. Like, in Melee, it would be more important to practice a lot just because, like, tech skill is, like, so unforgiving if you, like, mess up. But even then, I still feel like playing a lot still helps a lot in, like, every Smash game. Like, look at Zero. Zero was, like, the Smash 4 pro that, like, grinded the hardest. And he won, like, what, 57 tournaments in a row? Like, I don't think it's, like, a coincidence that Zero working so hard netted him so many wins. Well, in Melee, we didn't even have online for a very, very long time. I think the biggest reason people complain about online is because partly Nintendo charged for online, and it's like $1 billion company that provide a worse online experience than like some random people that made Netplay for Melee with no financial resources in a game where lag and like shitty connection is like even more like, you know, worse for the players. So, like, what wins? $1 billion company with a game that doesn't require as good connection to be playable online, or yeah, some random person, you know, for a very tricky game to make, like, in comparison, online good for. But yeah, a lot of the, not all of them of course, but some of the top players in the US complaining about online. Like, don't get me wrong, like, the online is still bad for them, right? But people like King doesn't have to play online. He's literally deciding to do that. Like, I feel like if you have the options and resources King have, I feel like it's actually like a punch in the face to people that don't have nearly what he does. It's like, oh, MK Leo, he lives like 2 seconds away from my room. I don't even have to go outside and he's there, you know? It's too far, guys. I have to play online from my room to his room. It's like, oh, I feel so bad for you, dude. No, for me and Leffen, like, or any European players in Melee, the issues, like, even with like decent online, it would still be worse than what the Americans do have. I normally make the comparison that playing Smash in the US, good regions in the US with like a lot of great players living close by. Like for Ultimate, I guess those regions would be like Florida, for example, or if you live at the Loft with like Tweak, Cosmos, and so on. These regions or these like specific like situations is like playing a hard game at easy mode. It's still a hard game, but you play it on easy mode. And then if you live like in Europe, for example, especially certain countries in Europe, then it's like playing the game on hard. What can playing online in Ultimate be good for? Well, test your patience, test your limits before you go crazy. Yeah, that's pretty much it. King is Scat and Dark Quizzy over, and they're taking turns playing online. Yeah, that's, you know, King is 100% justified complaining about online. Even when he has people sitting right next to him, he's playing fucking online. Taking turns. I'm not sure if I should laugh or if I should, like, rage. Like, if he has, like, 1 day a week he plays against subscribers, like, online, sure, I can understand that, you know? Like, give something back to the people that support your channel. I get that. But he's, like, literally playing online all the time. All right. No. That's close.
Aw.
Well, Spanky, whether Leffen is correct or not about how good Pokemon Trainer is, like, you can't expect someone to, like, get better with a new character, like, really quickly if you invested a lot of more time into a different character. Like, he played Pokemon Trainer for like, what, 2 months-ish at the very least? And then he picked like new characters and people after like 5 hours like, oh, his PT is better than his Roy. It's like, yeah, it would be very weird if his 5-hour-old Roy was better than his 2-month PT. For example. Like, I feel like it kind of shows like what type of mentality a lot of people have. They expect like immediate results, and if they don't get it, then it's like, oh, I don't have like the talent, blah blah blah. It's like so common. People are like, oh, I can't be a top smasher, I don't have the talent, you know. I wasn't born being good at Ultimate, but this player, oh, by the way, he plays 10 hours a day, but he's born being good. That's why, you know. He was just lucky, you know. It's like a lottery. You pick one, like we all get one when we're born. Good Ultimate player, awful Ultimate player, really awful Ultimate player. It's like, you know, this is what happens. It has nothing to do with how much you play, how much you practice. Like, for me personally, like, my first tournament, that was a very first Smash tournament in Sweden. And I didn't make it out of pools. And that's like an era when that tournament, I think we were like around 100 people. It was like 95 maybe. Outside of like maybe 10 of these players that had entered tournaments in other countries, like Holland or France, because their Melee community started earlier than the Swedish one. But yeah, besides a handful of players or 2 handful of players, everyone else, it was their first Melee tournament. So not making it out of pools in such an environment is obviously worse than like not making it out of pools when you compete with people that have done it for years. So yeah, I clearly did not start off with like winning tournaments or anything of the sort. But that's like what some people actually do believe. It's like, you know, oh, your talent, it's like, it's too good, I can't compete with that. It's like, yeah, not making it out of pools. It's crazy, you know? Yeah, no, we went over this topic like a little bit earlier as well. Like, if you feel like you stop improving, you gotta ask yourself why. Like, even if you're not reaching like #1, you can always do something to improve. And the thing is also like, the best way for me to practice might not be the best way for you to practice or someone else to practice. We're all different. Like, look at like studying in school, for example. Like, everyone have like different, you know, techniques for like what works better for them. And sometimes like you might just do it what's not like the best way for you. But for the most part, I feel like it's people that are very obviously lazy and they're not honest about it. Yeah. Also, like, talking about A and B game, like, I feel like most people, of course, partly some people use it as like, you know, self-defense mechanism. Like, oh, I'm playing bad, that's why I lost. Not like recognizing like the bigger picture of why they lost. But also like, just the mentality of like, oh, A game being so important that people like disregard B game. But I think to be a good competitor, it's arguably even more important to have a strong B game, since you very rarely will play at your peak. At the very least, I felt that in Melee. You can probably play a little bit more often in your A game in Ultimate or Smash 4, since the execution isn't like as high. But even then, I would still imagine that it's like kind of rare that you play like on your A game. Like, for me personally, like especially like at hotels, I actually can't sleep. Doesn't even have to be like a tournament coming up. I just can't sleep at hotels, so I had to like pretty much accept at every tournament that I will wake up every 40 minutes to an hour the entire night, and then like for multiple days in a row, since, you know, top 8s are at Sunday for most tournaments, right? So it's like, I just kind of had to accept that many tournaments, like my A game will like simply not be there from the start. Like, it's literally not possible.
ult.